we're ready to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our LA County Library event, Exploring Energy Technologies, their Careers in STEAM panel with Edison International. I'm Christy, and I'm a librarian for LA County Library, and I'll be your host today. And we are very excited to bring you a dynamic group of panelists. These are STEAM professionals from Edison International, and they have some wonderful things to share with all of you today. So today's program is sponsored by Edison International and the LA County Library Foundation as part of our Exploring Energy Technologies programming series, and we'd like to thank them for our support. We'll be having additional virtual programs throughout the summer as part of this series, and several of our libraries will also be hosting in-person library programs for teens as well. So we hope you can join us for future virtual programs as well as some of our in-person programs that we're having. You can visit the events page on our website at lacountylibrary.org for additional information. And then at the conclusion of today's program, you will have an opportunity to take a brief survey about your experience today, and we appreciate you taking that time. Your responses will help us in planning our future programs. So with that, I think we're ready to get started with our wonderful panel today. And first, we're just going to do a quick round of introductions so that you all know who will be answering our various questions. We have some prepared questions that everyone will have a chance to answer, and then we will open it up to Q&A to all of your questions that you all might have for these panelists. So first, we will start it off with Tara Becknell. Can you please just introduce yourself for us?
Hi, thank you so much, Christy. My name is Tara Becknell. I am a senior manager at Southern California Edison. I have over 26 years with the company. My role is a senior manager over our customer service operations division, leading our project management team. So thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to a great dialogue. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And next up, we have Marquise Randolph.
Thank you, Christy. Marquise Randolph. I am a planning manager over new development planning in Southern California Edison. My group primarily does services and line extensions to really businesses, tract homes, things of that nature. So I have a fleet of planners and designers, field techs, and admins that I work with. Very diverse group.
Great, thank you so much. And then we have Wendell Keller.
I guess I should come off mute, right? Thank you, Christy. My name is Wendell Keller. I am a senior project manager in our GRIG Technology Innovation PMO, or Project Management Office. So we work on a lot of technology and demonstration projects supporting future enhancements, grid of the future, anything we want to test, apply to the grid. Our team will do pilots and demonstrations. And I'm also supporting our Encore initiative, where we're moving towards a greener future, our pathway, helping California meet our 2045 clean energy goals. So happy to be here.
Great, thank you so much. That's a variety of areas with Edison International. So we're looking forward to digging into that a little bit today. So now that we know who our panelists are, we can go ahead and let's just start with kind of a general question, and we will ask each of you to share your path. How did you become a STEAM professional? What did that look like? And so we'll start with Tara on that.
Thanks, Christy. So for me, I first became interested in STEM topics during my freshman year of high school. I was specifically interested in earth science for whatever reason. I was also fascinated by space, various like earth and cloud formations and things like that. And so like my interest in that space like further evolved into participating in my high school's like mathematics, engineering, and science achievement program. Back then we called it MESA program. And there I had the opportunity to like tour Hughes aircraft, Boeing's aircraft facilities, and like participate in specific classes and events with classmates that shared similar interests. In addition to that, my mom also worked at Lockheed Martin. And so she was a part of the team that like developed the first stealth bomber. And so that kind of kept me interested in this kind of science, space technology kind of activity. I also have a passion and continue to have a passion for tech. And so, I'm going to admit a little bit of my age when I share this, but like, this was the time when computers kind of first came out, and they were just becoming popular in my senior year of high school. And I kind of picked up interest in like coding. So like coding Pascal, like languages or language. And so initially when I entered college, I went into college as a major in computer science. So started in high school and kind of like continued that passion along the way. So that's kind of like my journey. Uh, you know, uh, from a young age, being influenced by STEM.
I like that it took a journey from earth science to technology or aerospace to computer science. Is kind of encompasses a lot of different aspects in there. So thank you very much for sharing that. And then Marquise, can you please share your journey?
Sure. My journey is a little abstract. Really didn't start any sort of educational background into STEM until I was in my latter college years. But ultimately, I did have a handful of mentors who were engineers, worked for Boeing, was introduced to NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, went to a couple of their seminars while I was in college, going for a completely different career path as an accountant. Ultimately entered the field of STEM, and through our engineering and utility engineering space at Southern California Edison, just entering the workforce entry level as a meter reader. And from there, had some interest in several different departments, one of which was planning and engineering. And from that aspect, had an ability to cross-train in some of those fields. From there, pretty much just took off. I've been with Edison for 25 years, probably a good 20 of those years in the engineering and utility space and electrical space of Edison, without any particular background. My degree is in business, more so than engineering, but that is my pathway into the STEM type program.
Thank you so much. We're already seeing a variety of paths, like the business side versus that other kind of STEM side. So that's great. And then Wendell, let's hear your path as well.
Yeah, I thought my path was a little unconventional, but I think Marquise's is probably more unconventional than mine. I in high school I started taking like drafting and design courses, and I originally wanted to have a career as an architect. So I got my undergrad in engineering and technology. It was more of a design oriented type degree, and I thought I wanted to be an architect. And I started my career doing architectural design, and I thought that's where I was going. And I got into project management. So I think the bulk of my career, probably 20 plus years, was in real estate and construction. But I also started gaining an interest in sustainability, which I think has led me down the path of STEAM, right? Because I got my lead AP accreditation, and from there, about 2 years ago, I kind of took a leap of faith with Edison. Uh, I transitioned to an entirely new career that I didn't have a real background in, with grid technology. Uh, again, I was doing real estate with Edison in our real estate group, but decided I wanted to learn something new and challenge myself. And I would encourage anybody to kind of get out of their comfort zone and challenge themselves. So I got in. So I've been in our grid technology group for about 2 years, but it's been a learning experience. It's also been very exciting because of the types of projects we get to work on. We get to work in lab environments. We get to actualize projects like energy storage and things like that. So it's been very exciting. Yeah, so that's my kind of career path into STEAM with Edison.
I like this idea that sometimes you think your career is going to be one thing and then it ends up being something else, but also that you can change it if you want and decide to learn something new and use all of those experiences that you have in a new role. So
Absolutely.
thank you. I love this variety. I see we actually have another panelist who's there. You are, Seema. We got you on. We were having a little bit of technical difficulty with Seema. But thank you so much for joining us.
So sorry, I think I had the link to be on as an attendee. So I could hear all of y'all, but I was like, I can't figure this out. So I heard some of what y'all said. So Seema Turner, my pronouns are she and her. It's nice to meet you, everyone in the virtual world. I'm an ologist, so I'm a geologist that is working for utility companies. So that is my pathway took many, many, many different turns to get here. But one of the things that I will say is be persistent, i.e. I did not give up. I tried that link a billion times. So I will say that anything that happens, and y'all in the panel probably have this too, is that when something doesn't work, and this is true in life, you know, when you have those challenges, I think those are the ones that shape us the most. And the ones that are the lessons that we remember. So what I want to tell everybody is it's okay to fail. We will all, there is a first time for everything and trying. And so please remember that in life, in whatever avenue you take, whether it's in work or play or whatever. So thank you, Christy. Thanks all for the patience. Good to be here.
Thank you so much. No problem. We're happy to have you. I'm glad we were finally able to persevere and get you on the panel. Thank you. And it sounds like we're adding a little extra variety to the backgrounds on this. So that's going to be great. So our next question that we wanted to ask is kind of, I think, goes along with what we were talking about a little bit, where you think your career is one thing and then maybe it's something else, is what does it actually look like to work as a STEAM professional? Like what is the daily work like, and or like in terms of a typical day, or do you have any favorite projects you've worked on in the past or are currently working on? And let's go ahead and start with Marquise first on this one.
Got you right on the spot. I was looking forward to hearing what Tara had to say, but all right, so I'll kick it off. I'm a manager now, so my current day-to-day tasks are probably not as exciting. So I'll speak on it from the standpoint of the individuals whom I manage, some of the individuals whom I manage. So to kind of break down what they do, they're much like what Wendell started off his career in. It's architects. Our individuals that I manage are like electrical architects, which means that any of your homes, apartments, condos, any stores that you would go to, my team members draw out how electricity basically gets from point A to point B to those establishments. So they get an opportunity to go out into the field to meet with a variety of individuals, whether it be architects, engineers, electricians, and they get to basically draw up how electricity will get to a Tesla charging spot, or in some cases, to like SoFi Stadium. We did a lot of work over in SoFi Stadium to energize a lot of the storefronts around there. That's generally what our folks do on a daily basis. The planners go out in the field and they will have a red line, they'll draw out a sketch, and then we have designers, very similar to what Wendell was talking about, who actually draft up those plans, make them look good, they beautify them, and that way they give very good detail as to when the construction members have to pick that plan up, they're able to tell exactly what they need to do, where they need to bring the cables and wires, and where they need to set the poles. So that's what our individuals do on a daily basis to a high level degree. Very exciting work. It's very, it's very, the work is very fulfilling in what you're able to do, right? So as you are able to draw up services to a Target, a Costco, a Track of Homes, a big SoFi or Amazon, you can drive your family members by there, and plenty of times my family members get tired of me telling them what I've drawn up before, but it's very, very fulfilling in that aspect. So that's kind of the day in the life of the individuals whom I manage and what I used to do before I got into management.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, we never think about all of the steps and all of the people involved to make these things happen that we use on a daily basis. So it's really good to hear about that. And thank you for bringing up managing. I know a lot of times we think about the technical side of STEAM fields, but not what it can look like as you progress in your career and then become sort of overseeing people that do that. So thank you for bringing that up. And now we'll go to Wendell to hear a little bit about the daily work that you have.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like Marquise. I never miss an opportunity to let my family. I've done projects from Florida to California, and I never miss an opportunity to let my family know if we pass by a project I worked on. But I'm going to try to be really high level and not get too technical. But so day to day for me, so I mentioned in the introduction, I'm working on an initiative with Edison called Encore, and we're working on different strategies that's going to help support the clean energy future of California. So one of the projects or initiatives I'm working on, we call it DER, or Distributed Energy Resources, and what that means is if you have solar panels on your house, you have battery storage on your house, these are all what we consider DERs, or Distributed Energy Resources. So, at a high level, one of the projects I'm working on is a potential battery energy storage that will help support the grid uh, during peak loads, and also support the grid because we project we'll need a certain amount of load uh, targeted out to 2045 to support electric vehicles. Building electrification is a big initiative, and also solar. So, in a nutshell, we're working on projects that are going to help support the grid in readiness and reliability as these new assets come online, and we have a need for increased capacity across the Edison line. So for those of you that I'll give you the analogy my wife gave me. She said when she was younger, the big steel towers that you see probably going down freeways and things like that, those are called lattice steel towers, right? My wife used to associate it with them. She said they looked like army men because they had they're kind of shaped like a person, and they got things hanging out that look like arms. But those lines carry our what we call transmission voltage. You know, it could be 500 kV kilovolts and above. So those are very high energy line. Then you get down to the power poles that you see more on the street level. Those are our distribution poles. So all of those carry electrons, or what we call capacity, right? So we're looking to shape the future, or being ready for the future, to support electric vehicles. Like I said, all these increased loads that are going to put demand on the system. So though that's a project that I'm working on, is a battery energy storage project. Really exciting. I get exposed to a lot of different types of projects being in that initiative, but that's the one that's kind of like my day-to-day thing.
Thank you so much. I love that it's also so far ahead that there has to be so much projections and planning to think about the grid and the load in sort of a long-term way too. So
Yeah, in my real estate days, they said, well, if you wait, we would like Costco's. Marquise talked about Costco's. Well, Costco, they do forecast and planning, because if you wait for the houses to get there, then you're kind of too late already.
right. Great. Thank you so much, Wendell. And then now Seema will ask about your sort of day in the life as an ologist.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 of days of my life. So I'll give you my ologist day of life. That's in the environmental department. So we have about 150 people in the environmental department at Edison. And think of any kind of protection of the environment, whether it's the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act, whatever we're trying to save, we're trying to make sure that all the projects that Marquis and Wendell are talking about, before they actually have shovel and ground, we take a look at them, and we want to make sure we are being compliant with all those rules and regulations. And you can imagine, we're in beautiful California. There are lots of them. There's a lot of species that we need to protect, and waterways and the clean air. And so the environmental team looks at all that work. and says, okay, here are the kinds of things we need to do. Here are the permits we need to get. Here are the instructions we need to give to the crews when they're actually building, constructing, and the things that to be protective of the environment, make sure we're in compliance. So that's the ologist of me right now, my day job. So I'm actually on a special assignment for a few more months where I'm actually in what's called the Major Projects Organization. So we get to actually build, we get to plan and build all those giant transmission lines that Wendell just talked about, and these really big complex projects. And these take, to your point about forecasting, they take 7 to 10 years just to even get the permit for. And we're talking about permits from everywhere. There is there are all these regulatory agencies that you can imagine in California that regulate us as a utility, and then making sure that when we're crossing public land, so whether it is Bureau of Land Management or a forest, whether it's a federal forest or a national forest, so these folks on the team, they are managing really big projects. So I'm helping lead the leaders, you know. So again, back to what Marquis said and Wendell, we've got people skills in there because we're helping our folks and our teams do their jobs and help them with their hopes and dreams, right? We all have them. And so really that's another piece of what we all do as people leaders, is trying to make sure that we've got folks who love to come to work and do different things and have the opportunity to do different things. So I've got all sorts of fun things in my day. So that's how I wear my hat. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then Tara.
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, I talked about leading off with going to college and, you know, thinking that I was going to focus on computer science. My real world work is not that. I guess maybe a tiny bit. And so for me, like Marquise, I've transitioned into management. However, my background's project management, like many of the other panelists here today. So for me as a manager, I still get to be a part of like some of the really cool things that I was passionate about as a young age. So specifically technology. And so for me, I'm a part of a strategy development to bring various ideas to life. So Wendell mentioned Pathway Clean Energy and Pathway 2045. So those are our end goals. And so for us, my specific team of project managers, we're working on cool projects where I partner with developers. And so folks that are focused on kind of building and coding robotics. I work with IT, who's on point for implementing these different projects that we have to integrate in our system. So, you know, working in customer service operations, like our job is to answer the calls, get the bills out the door. And so all of these different efforts that are happening inside the company, oftentimes it ends up in some form, either on the bill or a customer has a phone call related to like what's going on. And so for me, like a big focus area, like I said, is focused on clean energy and affordability initiatives. And also like making our operations work efficiently. So that's where the AI, the artificial intelligence come in. That's where robotics come in to help streamline our internal like business processes. And so, you know, the other things that we're working on is further evolving chatbots. And then, like I said, leveraging AI to help with our customer phone calls. I think one of the coolest jobs that I've had as an employee in my 26-year career here has been like helping our large customers, so our major customers, with energy efficiency at their facilities. So I used to go out and like count light bulbs and have them change them out and things like that. I thought that was really cool. I got to tour many customers' like facilities. And then my favorite things are like, I got to see how they made yogurt. They had production lines, right? So how did they make yogurt and cereal and hamburger buns? And I'm not naming the customers, but think of the big, large projects that, you know, have yogurt or cereal. And which of our biggest chain has a lot of hamburger buns, right? So I got to work in that space, and that was really, really cool. You get passionate behind that stuff. And then, you know, for me, I love it because I got to also sample the food, even though it's like a bun, but it was just a really cool experience. And so that's one of like my core like core jobs that I really, really enjoyed when I was out working with our customers and helping them with energy efficiency.
Sounds like maybe when you're curious how things work, that continues to be a part of your your personality as you go forward. You're just like, oh, this is a new thing. How does that work? Okay.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for sharing quite a variety in the daily work life. And it also sounds like it can change all the time. That seemed to be a theme as well, that it can change over the course of a career, but also just over the course of a project as well, that what the tasks look like can change. And then next question that I have, sort of thinking about your journey, but also in your experiences in the field. Do you have any tips for young people who might be interested in a career in STEAM? Let's just start with that. And we can start with Seema. If,
Sure. I think one of the best things is being curious. Y'all can see that we've had a variety of careers and a variety of paths. And I would say being curious and being open to saying yes, even if you're not really sure what you're saying yes to. I will say that some of the best experiences, and I'm in one right now. Like I said, I'm on this journey. I'm in this major project organization. I am not from there. I'm not from operations, but I had this opportunity, and I decided to lean on in. And so I think really giving yourself that opportunity to say yes to things, even if you're not sure what they're going to look like, and just get in there. And it's okay. Like I said, if things don't go well, that's okay too, because you'll learn from those experiences. So being really open to that, I think is really something that when I think about STEAM and I think about all the different pathways that your life can take, that being open to all those possibilities will really, you'll end up. I mean, I'm sure it's hard to not realize she was going to end up where she had. Just based on that, I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. I kind of want that job. So those things as well, right? When you're talking to people, and just, having that being able to say yes to things, I think is one of the main tips I would give folks out there. So I'll pass it on to whoever next, Christy.
great, thank you. It's a very good tip. Tara, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I think for me, I have a couple, right? A couple tips for, folks that are interested in STEAM. So as you can hear, like, remember that we all have our own paths. Like, in order to get your career going, everyone has a different path. Sometimes it's, weighty and roundabout, and you land where you need to be. And so, something of interest now could change. But I think what's important is, like, your core of who you are remains the same. So some of those passions that you may have now will likely show up again in the future. So I was surprised by food later on in life, and technology. And so those things that you really, really care about tends to show back up in your career. I think the other thing that I'll add is, like, really around, like, partnering with team members that are different than you. It's really important, from my perspective, have, like, a diversity of thought. So, for example, I may be working with a bunch of folks that are introverted. You can probably tell that, like, I'm an extrovert. I'm very passionate about stuff. And so sometimes it's good to kind of balance out your energy. And then you could partner up, and, like, you may have someone who's shy and more introverted, but if you have an extroverted friend, they could speak on your behalf and help share ideas. And so it's really good to, like, pair up and collaborate and share things. I think we do a lot of collaboration in the company. We have different types of people that think differently in career professions. And so I think it's really good to kind of, have a diversity of thought and pair up with folks that are different than you. Those are my tips.
Thank you so much. I think it's important. We think of STEAM as being so technical, but it is also a people profession too. So it's important to think about it, working with other people. So thank you for that tip. Marquise, do you have any tips for young people who might be interested?
Well, I follow what the panel has already spoken about a little bit because I like it. I think it's important. It is follow your interest. Follow your interest, because ultimately, as that saying goes, if you're doing something that you really love, you don't really feel like it's work. But be open at the same time. So as you're doing your research and looking into the different STEM possibilities and career paths, be open. I think you've heard from each one of us here that we were open and ultimately, tried something different, even if it wasn't specifically within the core responsibilities of what we were either doing or what we studied for or went to school for. So be open, find a mentor. Make sure that you network appropriately, put in for different things so that you can gather different experiences, whether it's internships or varying jobs. Very important that you gather some experiences even in your young life here. So those are the things that I recommend.
Yes, I like that. I wrote that. Follow your interests, but be open. I think that's a good summary of that. So thank you. Wendell, anything to add to that? Any tips?
No, Marquise stole both of mine. I had them written down. One, do what you love, and find a mentor. I think I'm going to agree with Marquise. I think finding a mentor is so important. Tara mentioned kind of getting different ideas, not going into a groupthink behavior, having a lot of different thoughts and ideas that you can kind of kick around. But I just agree, this finding something you love, when you love it like that, it's not really work. And I think Marquise or someone also mentioned, don't be afraid. Like I jumped into a whole, I did real estate, construction, project management most of my career, and just did a whole 180 and just jumped into something totally different. But I'm a thinker and I love thought and I love collaboration. So, coming over to the technology side, I think was a really good fit for me, because I love the process. And as project managers, we all like this. Like we mentioned before, we like to drive by projects and say, hey, I played a part in that. Whether it's Marquise doing work at SoFi, just seeing something come to fruition is a really cool thing. So don't be scared to change. As many have said, if you think you want to be one thing and you change your mind, I'm just glad my kids didn't change their major when they were in college. So, but yeah, no, I fully support everything that's been said by the panel.
Thank you so much. And I do want to let everyone know in the audience, please, if you have questions, you can add them to the chat. And we are happy to bring them to our panel here. And I actually just wanted to follow up. There was a question that someone put, and you mentioned about, being open. So sort of but you do have to have a major at some point, to do it. But, so you do have to decide. So there was a question early on that's about that. Like what makes people choose to be one kind of a scientist versus another, and that persistence might be needed, but when do you decide, I guess, to keep persisting? And I'll just open it up to anyone if you have any thoughts on that, of kind of like deciding and that process. But yeah, if anyone has any thoughts.
I'll launch and sorry.
No, you're
okay.
Definitely in that
I'll
field,
launch.
so you can speak on that.
Yeah. So as an ologist, so I picked geology because I really like to be outside. I'll just be honest. And I at the time, and I was young, right? And I think I went in as undeclared, and then I picked it in my 20s, and I went from everything. I had like every major under the sun, my mom said, and then I finally was like, all right, I'm going to pick geology. So at some point you do have to lay a stake in the ground. But I'm going to go back to something that Tara said, is that kind of going back to your core. One of the things I did when I was in college is I was an RA, and I loved that. I loved being there. It was a resident assistant, so you're essentially like helping other people in the dorm, and you're, kind of, it's sort of having a team of people, right, and just making sure that they've got their needs met, and you help them through their college experience in the dorm, and I feel like I'm doing the things that I love from that core. That what you said really resonated. Like there was the core that I always was drawn to things. And so what I will say to those folks that, yeah, you may pick a major, you may pick some, because you do at some point have to specialize and you've got to take all the classes and the coursework. But don't let that define you, because as you can see, there are so many things that you can do in the world. But what college and what a major will get you do is to think critically, right? to work with people, right? To get that diversity of thought, think critically, and get all those core skills, communicate correctly, both written and oral, right? All these core competencies you can get probably in many, many different majors. So don't feel like if you pick one that you're like stuck in there, but then use those skills that you develop to then launch you to whatever you want. And when you think about, when I hear the stories of everybody here, they're using all that. And we're different majors. And I'm sorry, I missed who everybody's major, but whatever they are. And but that actually kind of sells the point, is that sort of is just one piece of it. But the real critical thinking, all that comes from whatever major. So find, get your passion, enjoy it, because you will have to take lots of classes in it. So that is something you definitely want to land on. But then at a certain point, I really think it's that fundamental stuff that then will help you when you're actually in your career and moving around. But I'll pause there because I'd love to hear if people have different perspectives.
Did someone else want to jump in, Marquise, or are you? Or Tara?
No, I was going to say I couldn't say it any better than what she has mentioned and what she stated. Very well articulated that, and my thoughts about that.
Great. Did anyone else have any answer?
Yeah, I think for me, like, as Seema mentioned, like, I know for me personally, I had a bunch of different majors. Like, I started off with computer science, then I went to being a teacher, right? And it wasn't until, so for me, I didn't start actually like really getting solid in my career until I had a job, like a grown-up job. And I actually finished college while I was working here at Edison. And so naturally, I finished with my undergrad in business. I was working at a business, and so I think, you talked about persistence and never giving up. Like, one mantra that I always say is like, never give up, just keep moving forward. I totally agree with the sentiments that Seema added related to, like, you're gonna build these core, like, critical skills as you're taking different classes. And so communication is critical. Like, everyone has to speak. You have to articulate your views. In order to be successful, like in project management, you can hear Marquise and Wendell talking about the importance of critical thinking and having the ability to kind of solve problems and provide solutions. You're going to face challenges. So all of these things are core fundamental things that, you get to experience in college. So that's my 2 cents that I'll add.
Thank you. And I realize librarianship was not on the panel today, but I will also just add that I was an undecided major for a long time because I was interested in a lot of different topics. And it turned out my core part of it was that I liked the connections between all of those topics and how to get that information to others. So it does sort of come over time that you kind of figure out what those core things are. So librarianship is connected to all of these things as well. So thank you so much for those answers. Let's see, we also have a question about any particular challenges that you might have experienced during your journey as a STEAM professional, and how did you overcome them? If anyone has something to add about that.
Yeah.
Wow, I can take that one. Yeah, there's going to be all kind of challenges. There are going to be things you don't know or things you don't understand, but I think persistency and just the willingness to want to learn and want to achieve. You're not going to walk into any job knowing everything. I had this, when I was younger, I had the perception that, you go to college, you graduate, you're going to be an expert in this field. But then I soon found out that most of your experience is what we call OJT, or on the job training, right? So while college does prepare you in a lot of different ways, there's nothing like the practical experience. So I would say go out, get as much experience as you can in whatever field you choose to endeavor, even if it's volunteer experience. Volunteer, learn things, challenge yourself to understand something you maybe didn't know. Maybe once a month, try to learn something new that you didn't know before. But just don't have a fear. And I had to overcome that myself earlier in my career. I had a fear of asking questions because I didn't want people to have this perception of I just did this guy's got a degree. He's like, why is he asking all these questions? Does he know anything? But I had to the only as they say, the only dumb question is the question you never ask. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to not know, and strive to just learn something. Be smarter, get smarter, and just keep chugging down the track. Keep kicking that can down the road.
I think what I'd add is, one of the challenges that I faced, I've been in the company for 26 years, right? I talked about like coding in Pascal, and there's so much technology, right, that has advanced us. And so for me, one of the challenges around kind of like staying up to date with tools and technology. And so those things are always going to be changing. And so for me, I think another thing to share with the audience is around like, I like what Wendell said around learning something new. That's a way to kind of stay ahead of the game. So be informed on like what's trending. Right now there's a lot of talk about AI and predictive analytics and all types of things like that in the technology space specifically. And so like what else, what other things are out there? So just trying to stay aware of like what's happening, and trying to learn those skills and stay current with those skills is something, at least for me, was a challenge at first initially. And then, I chose to get myself caught up to speed by doing different things outside of my day job to help learn new things, to Wendell's point.
I'll add, so folks have been in Edison for a long time. I've only been there it'll be 6 years this year. So I had a lot of jobs that I did not like. I will be complete, but I learned from them because I learned from that what I didn't want to do. And I think there was a lot of learnings from that. So I think sometimes you may not have the job that you want, but then it will build your character and you'll be able to build what it is that you do want. So then for the next opportunity, you'll be more informed. So I would say don't feel discouraged if you feel like you're not in a place where you thought you would be, because then build that out. And to Wendell and Tara's point, it's like build what you need next to be where you want to be. And I am big passion about vision and thinking about that and manifesting things, because you can, we all have the ability. We can't control what happens to us, but we control, right, how we respond to it and what our actions are and our thoughts and our beliefs. So I really think that that's really important as you're navigating your life as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are very thoughtful responses. Oh, Marquise, I think you just came off mute. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to add to don't be afraid to stretch yourself a little bit. Come out of your comfort zone, whatever your comfort zone currently is. You know yourself, but stretch yourself every once in a while out of your comfort zone. I heard Tara mention that she's an extrovert. I'm the complete opposite. I'm an introvert. I will be the last person to speak at a party. I'll be up against the wall, all of that stuff. However, just through time and through experiences, through mentorship, through talking to others, you can flex, you can become more open and adjust and adapt to what's going on around you, whether it's your surroundings or new surroundings. So stretch yourself every now and then. Afraid to try new things. Make sure that you're still being true to yourself and your core personality and character. You don't want to come insincere about whichever means that you are stretching yourself, but do so because it's a part of growth.
Thank you. Yes, it takes all types. There's not one way to be a STEAM professional. That's thank you for pointing that out. Wendell, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, there was a question in the chat, and I wanted to just I was trying to type the answer, but I thought it would just be better to address it. And the question was from Elizabeth, and she asked, "Where can you apply for an entry level like meter reader, like Marquise?" And I wanted to add that Edison, they have paid internship programs. I'm not 100% sure what the criteria is, but I don't know if maybe someone else knows if it's once or twice a year. They post these paid internships. You have to go through a whole interview process as if you were applying for a job, because you are, but many times those paid internships roll into full-time employment with Edison. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, check out our job boards periodically. I'm not sure if those internships come at a set point in time every year or if it's multiple times a year, but we have Edison has a lot of entry level positions. It could be meter reader. We have a lineman program that they offer scholarships for through I think it's LA Trade Tech. I'm not 100% sure, but there's a lot of ways to get an entry level position at CE. So
I added a link in the chat. Just did a quick Google search, but
oh, there you go.
so you can pursue it. Yeah, there are a lot of. I just want to bring that up for everyone in the audience too. Yeah, I like this idea of paid internships as a way to get experience. Also, as you mentioned, and there's I'm sure if you ask at your local library, they can help guide you with some of the resources that we have for finding internships and other opportunities to pursue your interests too. So thank you very much, Wendell, for bringing that up.
Yeah, and just to add on, given the audience and, many of the folks that are on the line may have seen our Instagram posts recently regarding our Edison Scholars. So every year we have a scholar, Edison Scholars program, which is offered by our Edison International company. And so if you check out our webpage, we do have different scholarships. I know we awarded, I believe, 30 students this year, high school students that were focused in STEM, $50,000 scholarships. So that can make a huge impact to your college experience. So I just wanted to plug that since we were talking about careers.
Thank you so much. So as we're getting near the end of our program, I did not prep our panelists for this question, but it is a library program. So do any of you have a favorite book that you remember from your childhood or teenage years, or perhaps that inspired you, or just perhaps that you loved? Either way is fine. We just love to hear what people enjoy reading.
I think I don't know if it's because I loved it so much, but Lord of the Flies, I think everybody had to read that in some point in their lifetime. It was just at that age is like it was a very interesting read. Like the comprehension was probably a little bit above where I was at the point, but I got the gist of it. But everybody talks about Lord of the Flies.
Stretching yourself even from a young age, trying to learn something new. Thank you. Anyone else have a favorite book?
Yeah, I'll go. I love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I will say, I'm just going to plug libraries. I love libraries. Whenever I go to a new city, I go to the library. I do have an LA County library card. I have an LA City. And I just want to say they are amazing. And the resources and going and finding whatever you need. So I will say, Chrissy, thank you to you and all the other librarians, because it is such an amazing resource for us to be able to walk into a branch. So thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had to Google what the most memorable book that I read. And it was at a time in my life where I think I was like really kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And for me, it was a book by Les Brown. And it's called Live Your Dreams. And it talked about his particular journey and how he became a motivational speaker. And so for me, when you asked the question, Chrissy, that's what popped in my mind. I knew it was Live something, and so I Googled it really quickly. So again, I agree. Like, I love to read books. I can't remember half of them at the end, but I do love to read. I have a passion for that.
Me neither. It's okay.
Thank you.
No, I'm a big fan of Lord of the Flies as well. But I'm also going to throw in something I started reading later in my adult life, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I've been asking my child to follow along with me on some of that as well. He's only 12 years old, but the common sense, practical, financial understanding of some of those concepts and philosophies out of that book, I think are timeless and ageless. So I would also recommend that as you're becoming adults here, young adults to adults, that you start looking into some sort of financial literacy. And that's one of those books that kind of breaks things down in layman's terms.
Thank you so much. That was a wide variety of books, which as a librarian, I love because I also read a wide variety of books. So there's not just one type that one person has to read. So thank you all for sharing and for being ready with that response when I threw that question at you all of a sudden. So look at that, being able to roll with the punches. I love it. So that's actually the end of our questions today with the panel. So I want to thank you all so much for being part of this. It was a very fascinating conversation for me, and I'm sure for all of our attendees. And I want to thank all of our attendees for joining us today. I hope that you got as much out of it as I did. And so again, I'll just want to recap our panelists: Marquise Randolph, Tara Becknell, Wendell Keller, and Seema Turner from Edison International. Thank you so much. And thank you also to the LA County Library Foundation, again, for sponsoring today's program. And I am about to place a link in the chat as we speak to fill out our survey. And also, once you leave the program today, it should automatically redirect you to that survey. But we appreciate if you have the time to complete that survey so that we can know how this program was for you, and so that it will help us plan our programs in the future. And with that, let me make sure I have all of my notes. Did we get to everything? Yes, I think we did. And so please join one of our future programs in this Exploring Energy Technology series. We'll be having some additional virtual programs throughout the summer, and we're having in-person programs again at some of our library locations. So you can go to lacountylibrary.org to look at our events to see if any of those programs are happening near you. And you can follow us on social media for our latest updates. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. Stay safe, and please have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.